Welcome to a series called the Book of Enoch, where we're going through the Book of Enoch verse by verse, because understanding what it will be like in the end times, all you have to do is know what it was like in the days of Noah. And Enoch was a great-grandfather of Noah. But beyond that, he had prophecy that we were meant to understand, because Jude quoted it and said, according to the prophecies of Enoch, and then quotes it in the book of Jude, and then gives us great description of those wicked demons among us and how we deal with them. So it's important we understand that. I'm not arguing it belongs in the Bible. I'm just saying if you want to understand that, you need to understand this. And where we are is we've seen now the birth of this race of giants, where the watchers, the angels, lusted after women, and they bound together 200 of them, and they said, all right, let's lay with these women. And then they created a race in Nephilim who were stronger than everybody else. They taught them how to manipulate the resources of the earth for weaponry, and then they taught them how to engage in warfare, and they just began to mutilate mankind. So we're just going to pick it up there. Enoch 7, starting verse 1. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against the birds and the beasts and the reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Then the earth laid acquisition against the lawless one. All right, I want to kind of address their height for a second, because, you know, when you tell people there were giants on the earth, they think, oh, that's nonsense. There were giants on the earth. Were giants on the earth like recently, like it wasn't that long ago. There's skeletons of giants. Lovelock Cave in New Mexico, there was a race of giants that were sent in there from soldiers, and they ultimately died. There's a museum there. They have sandals that are, gigantic sandals, and they have these bones, and they have, brushes that are gigantic, and things that they would have, giant bowls. And there's skeletons of these giants all over the planet. It's not like there was not a race of giants. There was, of course, a race of giants. You could literally look at their skeleton structure. I remember seeing the photo. You can look up photos of people that have been upwards of 12 feet tall. Now, I want to take a moment and kind of talk to this height of 3,000 ells, because what we have here is we have a height of about 12 feet tall. There's a few different conversions that people make with these ells. One shows these giants as being like 2 miles tall. That is not what they were. They were about 12 feet tall. And it's very important that we understand when you're doing a conversion, that you do a conversion right. Like if you're conversion from feet to miles or inches to feet, that you do the conversion correctly. And a lot of times what you'll see is images of these Nephilims that people have drawn, or and they're just like as tall as a mountain. But that's not what they were. They were 12 feet tall is what they were. The correct conversion is around 12 feet tall. Now, with that being said, when you're 12 feet tall and you know how to engage in warfare, and you can manipulate the earth how you want, and your dad is an angel, a fallen angel, ultimately what you have is you will then make human races your slaves. And it says here that they became pregnant and bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Now, let's talk about this for a second, because the Nephilim are still on this. The DNA of the Nephilim never left the earth. Well, how? Well, the flood killed all mankind. No, it didn't. It killed everybody but Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives. And all you needed was this little bit of DNA in one of them. And it stays. Just one woman could just have this little piece of DNA. Maybe it's not showing. And this DNA continues on this earth according to the book of Jude, according to Ezekiel, according to Enoch, According to Zechariah, it stayed here. The Nephilim are still here. You know, according to 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, they battled against giants. Like, it's just never left the earth. It's still here. And now what you're dealing with is we're going to be dealing with a very similar thing where the Nephilim, they'll just be like normal people. They won't be giants. I mean, they might be giants, but right now they just look like normal people. And they just look like normal people, and they will essentially force mankind to provide for them. And I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of that today, but you know, this is going to be a more severe version of it. Something like what, you know, where you will be working for, you know, very little, and you'll be providing for the great, you know, the people that are the most powerful, who know the secrets of this earth that you don't necessarily know. And they know they're getting directed by fallen angels and demons and Satan himself through the Antichrist on how to do this thing. And they don't change. It's the same thing. They're going to force mankind to provide for them. And mankind is going to die, starve, be hunted down, imprisoned. And whenever they can't sustain, they're just going to mutilate them. And then they're going to drink their blood, according to this. They became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink blood. Then the earth laid acquisition against the lawless ones. It's not a pretty picture. And I think, you know, when you really think about, well, why was the world destroyed? Why did God destroy all mankind with the flood? Any thoughts or insight, definitely put that below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, and never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.